to another video. In today's video, we'll be discussing about roadmap as in-house legal counsel. What are the important questions that you can expect to encounter during rounds of interviews as in-house legal counsel? Now, in-house legal counsel is the most desired and preferred career choice for law graduates and legal professionals alike. Most of the people tend to switch from litigation or who are preparing for competitive exams, they tend to towards switch towards corporate sector and become in-house legal counsel. But hardly anyone knows how. Now, in today's video, we'll be providing you a catered pathway towards becoming in-house legal counsel. What can you expect when you will be interviewing for positions as in-house legal counsel? Now, to begin with, not many know what is the desired skill set that is required to become in-house legal counsel. Now, the skills required to become in-house legal counsel range from contract drafting to contract vetting till contract negotiations. Now, your work as in-house legal counsel is to close out the agreement, make sure that the business is not hampered, so while doing so, every company has their standard templates. So drafting forms minor portion of your day-to-day activities. So you can expect to encounter 5% of the drafting, but drafting would not be of contracts or at least the entire contract at length. Sometimes you might require to draft certain clauses, but aside from that, majorly you would be required to draft policies of the companies. When it comes to contracts, that's where vetting and negotiations takes place. That would form part of 80 to 85% of your day-to-day activities. So 45% of the work revolves around contract vetting and 45% of the work revolves around contract negotiations. Now, what is contract vetting and what is contract negotiation? Now, when you receive a standard template of an agreement of the other side, some clauses would be agreeable to you, some clauses would not be agreeable to you. Now, the clauses which are not agreeable to you, you will redline those clauses. That is contract vetting. The clauses which you are reviewing and redlining bases your organizational policies so that tomorrow your organization's interest is not hampered. That's what you call contract redlining or contract vetting. Now, once you have done contract vetting, that does not mean the process ends there. Once you share back your red lines, some of them might be acceptable to the other side, some of them will not be acceptable to the other side. The clauses which are not acceptable to the other side, what happens then? Original clause was not acceptable to you, your red lines is not acceptable to the other side. You will go over negotiation calls. You will try to find a middle path. That's called contract negotiation. You will provide your reasonings, the other side will provide their reasoning, you will try to come to a mutual conclusion. Now, when we talk about interviews as in-house legal counsel, majority of the questions would form part of contract negotiation. How do you negotiate? How well you are able to justify your reasoning? That will either make your case or break your case. So it's really important to understand what are the questions you can expect during rounds of interviews as in-house legal counsel and how can you prepare for those questions. Now, some of the important questions that you can expect to encounter during rounds of interviews as in-house legal counsel. The first important question would always start with tell me something about yourself. This is the very basic and common question that you can expect to encounter during rounds of interviews as in-house legal counsel. Now, you all know the answer to that. You will be providing your personal as well as your professional details. Now, as soon as you come to your professional details, as soon as you come to your work experience and background, at that point of time, you will be telling them about the agreements that you have dealt in. The moment you take name of a specific agreement, you will be started cross questioning from there on. That's when the real interview starts. So that's what you have to be prepared for. Let's assume you named a particular clause A. Let's assume that you named a particular an agreement A agreement. That's what you have worked on. From there on, your real interview would start. The cross question would look like you have worked on A agreement. What are some of the important clauses that you look out for in that particular A agreement? For this, you need to keep two very important things in mind. First, the scope of the question. They are only asking you to name the clauses of an agreement. Second thing, do not state everything you know in one go. The scope of the question is only name of the agreement. Restrict your answer to the name of the agreement only. Now, if they ask what are important clauses in the agreement that you have worked on, you will have to provide them with the 3 or 5 most important clauses in the hierarchy from most important to least important. Don't just jumble up the clauses, name random clauses. It should be from hierarchy. It should be in an hierarchy. According to you, this is the most important and this is the least important. But these are important clauses in an agreement that you will look out for. Now, the moment you name the clauses in an agreement, there would be another cross question. What do you look out for in that particular clause? Now, knowing the name of the clauses, some of you mm, or a lot of you tend to do this. You just Google this particular agreement. What are some important clauses in this particular agreement? Knowing the name of the particular clause is never sufficient. You will always be asked, what do you look out for in that particular clause? Herein, you will have to provide them with the two things. First, what does the clause meant? What is the meaning of this particular clause? Second, once you have provided them with the definition, the meaning, then you will have to let them know what do you review for in the particular clause. Now, the moment you provide them, what do you review for in the particular clause? There would be the third important question, that is the situation based question. That would be a follow up question to your answer. Now, always remember, whenever you are going for an interview, the follow up questions or the questions would be from what you will be telling them, from what you will be answering. So, make sure if you are answering about a particular agreement or a particular clause, you know in and out of that agreement or a particular clause. So once you tell them that this is the meaning of this clause, this is what I review for in this clause, then there would be a situation based question. The other, what you review for, you will tend to provide them with a situation that I need this in this particular clause. I need this situation in this particular clause. Now there would be a counter question. Other side is not agreeing to what you are stating. How will you rebut the presumption? How will you convince them to agree to what you want in the agreement? That's where your negotiation skills would come into picture. That's where you will be judged whether you have actually worked on it or you have just theoretical knowledge. In this situation, you will have to provide them with the reasonings. What are the reasoning? Why you want a particular change in a particular clause? Why the other side should agree? Why your changes would not hamper the business or interest of the other side? You will have to convince them. This is the third important question that you can plan to encounter during rounds of interviews as in-house legal counsel. And the final question that would come would be a negotiation situation. You will be asked whether you have encountered any negotiation situation, difficult negotiation situation. If yes, what is the negotiation situation? Now, herein you have to keep three important things in mind. First, you will have to tell them what was the difficulty before you. Second thing you have to tell them is how did you overcome the difficulty? What was the reasoning you give to convince the other side? Third is what was the final outcome. Sometimes your reasoning would be acceptable to the other side, sometimes it would not be acceptable to the other side. When it's not acceptable, that's when the real challenge comes into picture. So you'll have to provide the other side what was the outcome of your negotiation situation. The moment you tell your interviewer these three things, that's when you have cracked the interview as in-house legal counsel. You have aced your interview. And this you can only do when you have actually and practically worked on agreements and you have negotiated by yourself. Until and unless you haven't done that, you can and you will never be able to clear your interviews as in-house legal counsel. Now, some of you and a whole bunch of you have this question. We don't have the opportunity. We didn't get the chance to negotiate practically. How can we do that? Don't worry, we are here to help you. QCLI has launched contract vetting and negotiation course, wherein you will not just be learning contract vetting and negotiation, but you will be doing contract vetting and negotiation by yourself on live contracts. That's what makes you different from other prospective candidates. For every in-house position, you can expect there are hundreds, not if not thousands of applications every recruiter receive. What makes you stand out? The practical knowledge and skill sets make you stand out. The moment you are able to justify that you have actually done contract vetting and negotiation, and you have actually been there, you have the desired and requisite skill set that the company requires, that's what makes you stand out from the crowd. That's what is going to get you selected as in-house legal counsel. So QCLI has opened another batch, December batch, for contract vetting and negotiation, wherein you can learn everything from contract vetting and negotiation on multiple contracts from scratch. And you will be doing contract vetting and negotiation on live agreements so that you can get the practical touch and practical exposure. We have very limited slots, so make sure you register as soon as possible. If you want to register, the link of the website and the numbers on which you have to reach out will be provided in the description box. Feel free to reach out. Thank you and have a good day. See you in next video.